Yeah, we usually start off with a clap, so just to so we
sync
can sync
it,
the cameras,
Okay.
And then you guys go. Perfect.
Easy.
Let's go.
Become our signature now. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 17. We have Fred Waves here, but these are our friends, Fred and Bo. Fred is from Sweden, and Bo is from the Netherlands. So welcome, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for
having us.
You guys are 2 of 6 members of the Fred Waves kind of band, you'd say, behind backing you, essentially.
Yeah. So it's basically like a solo project, but I built together a little band to have more fun with it and just do the live show properly.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's nice to have that built in already, where you don't have to think about like rearranging for a live thing, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No band name yet, but let's
No,
put our minds to it. We'll come up with a good band
Fred
name.
Waves and the 5.
Yeah. Fred Waves, the question marks is like
And the question mark.
That's currently the group name, yes, the question marks.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Oh, the group chat name?
Yeah.
Ah, that's so cool. I feel like if bands were the same name as their group chat, it would be a very interesting place. We'd have some interesting band names.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool.
We forgot to do this, but we usually ask before we film. Is it okay if we include a little snippet of a song so we can?
Yeah, sure.
What song would you like it to be?
Sweet Haze, latest release.
Cool.
I ain't sure about a lot of things. I always end up in between. I never see just what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, Sweet Haze.
So that was Sweet Haze.
So that was Sweet Haze, yes. And you had the music video came out for that a couple of days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
As of recording this.
Yes.
What was your experience like doing that?
I had a lot of fun actually, because I've done a couple of music videos before and learned quite a bit doing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a bit more knowledge going into this one, and I could be a bit more ambitious with just the whole concept. So I involved quite a few people. Like first I had a guy, Philip Jankowski, great guy, did the live footage. So we went around the city here in Berlin a bit. And then I also involved a team of AI animators who works with like AI software.
I wanted to ask that because I was looking at it and the way the lines moved looked a little bit AI generated.
That's where it's from.
So these are people programming, like making this, like a team working on AI generated stuff? So it's not just like an app that you submit the audio to?
No. Okay. It's a couple of guys I found online that has a little team together.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Ah, cool. Are they based in Berlin?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What's the name?
Dor Brothers.
Dor Brothers. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
With O-U-R, right?
No, D-O-R.
Dior.
Dior.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
the
And-
Dior brothers.
Yeah. For that, were you trying to aim for a psychedelic thing from the origin, or is that something that developed through the process?
No, that was definitely like the idea. The idea was to like capture the contrast between like a very gray everyday reality, living in a city, especially in like the winter half year, with like daydreaming and like the places your mind goes when you play music.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like capture the mystical, magical yesterday and those daydream sequences, and I wanted them to be like really dreamy and psychedelic.
Yeah.
Feel like otherworldly. And I just like looked at a lot of AI animations at the moment. I was like, I'm sure there's someone out there who does this. So just found them. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I feel like more and more artists are gravitating towards AI-generated artwork for their songs, and it's actually, I think, changing the way people make music because of the way the AI reacts to certain parts of songs and how rhythmic the songs are, and how at each beat, oftentimes, it'll change the image.
Yeah.
So I wonder in the future how it'll end up, but it'll be really cool.
Exactly.
It'd be nice to see if you guys continue using.
Yeah, I actually also used
stuff.
AI, like an AI tool to make my last single's album cover.
Oh, right.
A song called Take My Time. That's also an AI generated image that I made myself through Midjourney.
Cool.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's cool as a tool to use when you already kind of have a vision of where you want to go with it. And I feel like it's also nice when you incorporate some traditional methods, because right now, if I would have done like just AI animation all throughout the video, it
Would've been
gets
boring,
old
probably.
quite quickly, and it gets a
Yeah.
bit too much. There's so much going on, so you need to like find a good balance between it. But like using it as a tool amongst others, like put it in your toolbox, I think is a really good thing to use.
Yeah. Bringing the humanity back into the art
Yeah,
is nice.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, on both
Yeah.
sides.
Well, for band background and the groups, like inspiration, you have this kind of psychedelic vibe, but you mentioned that the band was kind of started from this like, coming out of the pandemic, and then you had you spent some time in South Florida, in that sonic influential scene.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
was that the ultimate influence, or?
No, like I actually started the project back in 2019. So I've been doing a lot of genres throughout my life, like everything from like death metal to stoner rock to singer-songwriter to rapping to producing electronic music. And then I kind of like accidentally wrote Wrong Track, my first single, one day, and I was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. I just did a whole production recording in like a couple of days. And like, okay, I stumbled onto something here. This is what I should do. And then it all kind of like clicked in my head, all the influences from all the genres I did. Then I moved down here, started playing with bands and stuff. Yeah, eventually I ended up in South Florida. But my main influence from there is like, I played gigs like 4 times a week, up to 4 times a week. Because I was like singing with a cover band there, just like get into the scene a bit, get to know the people. So yeah, I got a lot of like experience being on the stage there.
You rode miles in the live scene, just like practicing.
Yeah, exactly. Cut my teeth there. So yeah,
Nice.
it was a lot of fun.
Cool. And then for your first song, when you kind of made that tune where you were like, dang, this is awesome, were you already familiar with any music production skills at that time? And
Yeah, because I've been like producing a bunch of electronic stuff for fun and doing beats, like first for my friends and then for myself, and I started rapping a bit to beats myself. I never got around to releasing stuff because I always like jumped to the next genre all the time, kind of. So I was kind of like, I mean, not well versed, but a little versed in Ableton.
Gotcha.
So like the song just came about because I had this chord progression that I've been playing for like 7 years and did not know what to do with it. I was like, I want to make a song out of this, but where should I go? And then one day I just put it into Ableton and just put a random drum beat under it. And I was like, not bad. And it
cool.
kind of just like built itself.
Nice. And then Bo, how did you become involved with the project, and what made you gravitate towards Fred Waves?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on a lot of indie rock music. My dad was very much into it. I grew up with like Franz Ferdinand, Editors, The Kooks, Arctic Monkeys, all in like 2004, 5, 6, when their first releases were coming out. And then eventually, we both started doing it the same year. We knew each other already, but not that well. And then during the beginning of Corona, sort of, I think it was around, July 2020, August, you moved
Something
into the
like-
apartment where
something
I was
like that.
living already. You replaced one of my roommates, and then eventually our other roommate left right before the second lockdown started, and we were kind of stuck in the house together for like 6-ish months. I don't know how long the
not
second one was, but
longer.
it was incredibly long.
Yeah, there was like one lockdown that was like, just the lockdown was probably 6 months. Of
Yes, from,
just
like, October
the two
to
of us
April,
hanging
yeah.
out like every weekend, just sitting, scheming, talking shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I started to work with you on some of your music. We should also give a shout out to the other roommate, Stefan Stojchev.
Yeah, Stefan Stojchev.
He's a bassist from my year as well, who first worked with you. And
Exactly.
he definitely had a big hand in Take My Time and Sweet Haze, the songs that are released right now.
Yeah, a couple of the early songs, early demos, he had a lot to do with. So
Yeah. And yeah, then you moved, I worked on some more songs with you. You moved away, and then eventually you came back, and we kind of picked it up from there eventually and made it into like a serious project. We did one with 2 gigs. One we organized one at Noisy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You and Hendrik organized one, and we played for, do you know Minivan?
No.
They're also a band with some BIM people in there.
Yeah, shout out to Minivan. You
Shout out to
should
Minivan.
check them
Have
out.
them
It's
on.
like a psych
Great
punk band.
Yeah.
Really good, really cool guys. Yeah.
We went with them to Luxembourg to do open for them for one of their shows.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun too.
And then from there on, it kind of became more serious. We started doing studio stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because like at that point, I was still about to move back to the States because I had like a label there that wanted to work with me, but we just needed to get me an artist visa. That's why when I was there, I just did like cover band shows and stuff because we couldn't really get to work on my music because I didn't have a proper working visa. And then it all got, because like, yeah, I met them 2 weeks before the pandemic started. So yeah, it's like kind of a long, weird, messy story. But yeah, I ended up there, and then I moved back here. I was supposed to go back there, but after a couple of months, after like a bunch of lawyers and bureaucracy and everything got stuck, and I'd already waited like 3 years since my last release. I was like, I love those guys over in Florida. Like, those are the best. I would love to be there and work with them, but I also love being here, and here I could like do it straight away. So I was like, I felt like I just had to go for it and not lose the momentum I had.
It almost seems like there's more need in a city like this to have some sunshine or like some like more dreamy indie rock like influences, guitar based stuff. You know, there's definitely that rhythmic like need. Yeah, I feel like.
And God knows the city needs some sun from time to time.
Gosh, right? Seriously. Yeah.
I mean, when you started helping out, like when you were in the apartment and Stefan, the other roommate, was that very much like, hey, I need a bass line, can you guys do something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was still like doing all I kind of arranged the songs first in Ableton, as demos to like get the vibe and like show my vision of the song, and then in the beginning I kind of arranged the full song and then just like left the rhythm part out and asked first like Steph and then Bo like fill that in. Now it kind of like, since we've been working for like a year or two together now, more constantly, it's more like I start with like a basic idea. I tell Bo like, this is where I want to go with this. He throws in the bass and the drums, and then we build it from there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like very intertwined.
For sure.
And for the other band members, the other 4, how much are they also involved in the writing?
It varies from song to song, right? I mean, not so much writing, but like more arranging wise, it varies from song to song, right?
Yeah, like sounds and like the details of how stuff's played. Like I usually like outline it and then like give it to them to like, okay, do what you want to do with this. I know you can do it a bit better than I did it here. Like you get the idea.
Or you can write a part that practically isn't really that playable.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah,
because we have a quite varied band of like instrumental sort of specializations where we have Filip Jankovic, I'm not sure if you heard of him, a very good guitar player from our year as well, who is also much more into R&B, jazz, and that side of things. Yeah. And then Hendrik is very much a rock kind of guitar, spacey reverbs,
so that's a cool combination, having Philip as like the rhythm guitarist and Hendrik as the lead guitarist. So it's like an R&B rhythm section with Bo there too, and then we have like spacey guitars from Hendrik. It just like goes full Pink Floyd on that. So
it's interesting actually, because we're listening to. Well, yesterday I was watching the video for Sweet Haze, and probably didn't notice it that much. But now you explain the mix of different genres and stuff. All I really noticed was the like fuzzy kind of Pink Floyd thing, because I listen to R&B all the time, so it slipped under my radar a little bit.
And it gives you a lot more freedom tonally, right? To fill in the song ideas and give extra layers to what is essentially a style that has been kind of done for a very long time. It's very easy to become very boring with it in a way, right? And so you need to introduce these little other different things so as to not become just still.
Exactly. I'm also trying to introduce like a lot of stuff from, because I was a huge fan of hip hop for a lot of years. I still listen to a lot of, especially Swedish hip hop. So I try to incorporate a lot of those ideas with like the rhythms of the vocals and the like laid back kind of attitude, especially in the verses. If you listen to the verses, a lot of it is highly like inspired by hip hop.
You can tell it from the video as well. Where it's like kind of indie rock music, but the video feels very hip hop.
Exactly. Because I'm trying to like. There's like a lot of, I feel like there's a big crowd listening to a lot of hip hop that can't really relate to a lot of the lyrics, especially in Sweden. Like mainly it's about like, you know, that type of life. And a lot of people is like, it sounds cool, it's amazing, but it's not really the life I live. So I'm trying to like,
I'm 100% that person.
Take those attitudes and incorporate it into something that is more relatable to some people, if that makes sense. And also to like, I feel like there's a lot of people who like listen mainly to rock and they like hip hop, the sound of it, but they don't get with it because they can't relate to the whole attitude and like it's like they like the sound of it. So I'm trying to like, but the sound, you can have that, but also listen to rock.
That's super accurate to my experience as well, where everyone I know that doesn't like hip hop, it's because of the content. And everyone I know that likes rock is because of the sound and the textures and stuff. So there's like some meeting point there.
So I'm trying to like...
Yeah, that's cool. How much of that is calculated when you're making something and you're like, let's see where we can try to make these genres meet versus just doing what feels natural and kind of improvising your way through a song?
It's not very calculated, no. A little bit, but mainly it's just, I just go on feeling. I feel my way through all the songs. I mainly, like, I don't think that much about, like, writing when I write songs. I feel like more like I find a good starting point and then I discover the song from there on. I feel like it's already out there somewhere. You just need to, like, find the right path that leads to the finished song.
Yeah.
But there are so many paths. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like when you're songwriting, there's like multiple versions of the song that you could have.
For sure.
Yeah, so
Which we already have as well. Of some
Oh
songs.
yeah.
Oh,
Some
really?
songs, yeah. We have one song that was like finished, written like 2 years ago, and we are on chorus number 5 and not happy yet.
Yep.
So yeah, but you just need to go with like your gut feeling. Like
If it's not ready, it's not ready.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Just let it take its time for sure. Like you'll know when it's ready.
Yeah, and your first 2 singles you released also that you produced by yourself are going to be released within a couple months with a different version as
that's
well.
cool.
Yeah.
I love when you can
was
take old
thinking about doing
projects
that.
and rework them and release them because we were just talking with our other guest.
Our next week's guest, Oscar
Next
Vader.
week's guest.
Yeah.
Because time works differently here at the Unsigned Berlin
that's how it goes.
headquarters. But we were just talking about how some of the old stuff you make like has that soul, has the like energy of when you first like figure out stuff and you have that freedom of maybe fewer limitations of knowing the right way to make and the formula. So that's
and also
really
like
cool.
the first 2 songs I did, it was just completely written and recorded by myself alone in my bedroom in Sweden in a small town, you know. So just me sitting by my computer holding the microphone, pressing record, and just program drums. And then when I kind of switched into playing with a full band, didn't really make sense to have those versions anymore. So we're like, we're gonna re-record them. So they're coming.
Awesome.
They're gonna sound really cool.
Did you then rearrange them for the instrumental?
To a large extent, yes.
side?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
awesome. Wouldn't your old past self be so happy to see how they turned out?
No, for
I
sure,
always
for
think
sure.
about that. I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
she must be like, she would have been so proud. Like, you know, that's awesome.
For sure. Yeah, because you always have like a vision starting out, but it's hard to really implement what like the sound in your head when you write a song, make that come into life. That's why you surround yourself with like brilliant musicians like these guys who can actually help you do that.
Because they really can.
Oh yeah,
It's amazing. And where do you guys record all of these? Do you have a main studio, home base?
We've been in 2 different studios actually now. So the first round we did in, what's the place called? It's like in Marzahn.
I mean, I believe Andy calls it the melting pot.
Oh yeah, the melting
Right?
pot.
Melting pot?
Yeah, that's,
Frank
exactly.
Zappastrasse.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It comes
yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's a really cool place.
Andres' like studio.
Oh,
Previous
okay.
guest of the podcast as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I gotta go check out that space.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
no,
It's a nice
like
place.
they got good gear and good rooms, so like we had a
Nice.
great time recording there for sure. Yeah, and then the second round we did in the famous Gold Watch.
Ooh,
A classic.
Yeah, this was like amazing vibe.
wow.
I don't know.
I don't know about
what
that
is it?
studio.
Bit of
Check it out.
Weissensee.
Yeah, Weissensee.
Okay.
Very nice place. It's very
Yeah,
atmospheric.
decorated
Yeah.
like absolutely beautifully by Cameron, the studio owner.
They have a studio cat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
one
mean,
that died.
One that died and one that's, I guess, new. But yeah.
A new one. Oh my gosh.
Replacement
Well, I feel
cat.
like that's
Yeah.
a great animal to have as a studio animal because they're generally quieter than
Yeah,
most animals.
the cat just kinda
or like
strolls
a
around.
fish would be a great studio
Studio
pet. I think.
Because
you could record
But then
them.
water.
Yeah, like that
Yeah.
bass in the water.
Yeah.
Fish.
You could just have them like swimming around. You could like put them in.
Surrounded with bass traps, and it might like.
Yeah, yeah.
know. Yeah,
No, I
exactly.
can see
Physics
that.
isn't
I
good
can
enough
see
for that.
And calculated in bass traps.
Yeah.
The fish would go crazy from how quiet the room is, you know?
Yeah.
No, but it's a really, really fun place to record.
For Gold Watch.
Yeah,
Right.
especially when we turned into a bar on the last day.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's
On your last
already
day of
decorated
recording.
like a bar.
Right.
So it kind of invites the vibe.
Yeah, the last day was just you doing some vocals and a little bit of guitar, right?
Yeah.
And there was a
that's
little
great.
outside space, and the whole band turned up. We didn't really have anything to do. We just kind of came there anyways to watch
Yeah.
everything happen. And we just we walked to Netto, bought a crate of beer, and someone else came, one of her friends, with like a bunch of cigars, and
Oh my gosh.
it just turned into a random impromptu bar.
Yeah, I was in the
Distinguished
recording
gentleman.
and just like taking a break, opening up, and just like walking into a wall of cigar smoke, and the band just sitting like, how's it going? Like throwing some darts.
Nice.
Yeah, just like, emotional support.
Exactly.
You go from the stress of recording vocals to them
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah.
Talk
I can
about
relax now.
stressful.
Do you find it stressful recording vocals though?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm so used to like a particular way of like working with myself, and like, yeah, I feel like, yeah.
Do you do that thing? Well, did you used to do that thing where you're working by yourself and you do a bunch of takes of vocals because you're not happy with them and you come through them?
And also like the biggest difference is when I record myself, I comp it as I record it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I do a take, I listen to it straight away, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's not cool. And then I just sit and redo the parts that I don't like.
Yeah.
Might redo some that I like as well. But like when I'm done recording, it's done comped.
That's
Instead of
nice.
just, exactly. So that saves a lot of time, and you really get good takes. Because you can instantly like apply what you hear is missing from like in energy or emotion.
That's a good idea.
Don't you think it's a different mindset though, because you're going from this performance-based, headspace back into this very, editing mindset? Like, don't you feel that's a bit fractured? Because in my experience, I wish I could just focus on the performance and someone else could do that for me. Or do you prefer that way?
It's a bit different depending on which type of song it is.
True.
Some songs are more like emotional release, and then it makes sense to do it more in one take. Then I don't want to chop it up. You're gonna hear some of the coming songs, they're not gonna be chopped up. But when I do more low key, laid back, like hip hoppy verses, especially when it's very like, I don't know, high gain, low emotion, very subtle, then I like more really hitting the fine details of the delivery.
That's a great explanation, I think, because people are, people who don't do music are always so like, how does it work? How do you get that take,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are musicians as well who listen, but it's great to hear different processes.
Exactly. Yeah, because like a full-on high range emotional chorus, you don't want to chop that up because you're gonna lose it. The emotion will be gone.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you do the same with when you're doing instrumental takes with the rest of the guys, like Bo, if you're doing a bass take, or is it like loop it a couple times, 2 takes, and then that's just
generally looping, unless there's like a part where you really hear that, oh, I want something different here, or this part is not going well. You can do an overdub in that part, right? But generally, as an instrumentalist, you don't get a chance to comp your own stuff, right?
Yeah,
you just have to, because you're sitting in a different room as well. You're never like really there while recording.
Yeah.
So you just do 4 takes and maybe 3 takes, a couple overdubs, and depending on what you want, right?
Exactly, because I'm producing the songs as well, so I've mainly gone through every part with everyone beforehand, so they know how I want it. Me and Bo have arranged the demo to like show how we want it.
Yeah.
So it's usually like a couple of takes, maybe 2 or 3 overdubs about like a couple of places, but yeah, the instrumental parts are usually full takes, quickly done.
There's not much room for like playing around with stuff. You generally like to go in the studio. I mean, studio time is expensive as well.
That's,
so you
that's the thing, right? Exactly.
You don't have the luxury of like, let's try a take with this, It'd
be great to have like a full
would be
1.5
great.
week in the studio, but unfortunately, like, it's very expensive.
There's a lot of people to pay and pay for the studio itself.
Yeah.
So
engineer, etc. Yeah. That's hopefully in the future.
Yeah,
we'll reach that point at some day.
For now, we're keeping most of the experimentation in the bedroom.
In the box, in the bedroom.
In the box.
In the box, Maybe better way to put it. But yeah, that's awesome. And then can we talk a little bit about your upcoming shows as well?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys are playing Cassiopeia
today.
Today.
When this comes out.
When this comes out.
Yes.
Come through.
Right now. So if you're
Right
listening when it
now.
comes
If
out.
you're listening right now, why are you here? Go away.
Run.
Stop
Run.
listening. No. Keep listening, then go.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to Casio.
Exactly.
And then Art Stalker.
Yes.
You guys, super cool.
8th of April.
8th of April. Awesome. So yeah, are you going to try anything different at those shows? You guys are going to have Sweet Haze play that.
Gonna be
probably,
our
for sure.
first couple of shows with our new drummer, Giorgio.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Jojo also
Yeah.
with Kuma.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, fantastic drummer.
Great guy.
Sometimes I like to compete with Sebastian to see who can do the most research. He usually wins.
No, this is only because I met Jojo before. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dang, networking, social. Get my game.
We need
Yeah.
performances from you. Where's that at?
Oh,
Songs are ready.
oh gosh, Sebastian, don't put. Someday it'll happen. I promise.
How much do you, when you're performing, how much do you include songs that haven't come out yet to kind of test how they're going? If there's points where people are getting bored or if people aren't reacting right, and how much do you do that?
I don't think we put too much attention on how people react to the songs because it's so different, like depending on the crowd that's there that night. Especially the couple of shows we've done so far where it's not like people don't mainly come for us. Sometimes, but like other times it's been like we're just part of the night. You know?
Yeah.
And then you can't really like gauge how the
It's not the
crowd
same
reacts.
audience.
And,
Yeah.
We also haven't had enough shows to properly like gauge reaction of audiences to certain
Exactly, yeah.
songs at this point, at least.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we only have 2 released at this point, so most of the set is unreleased, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, a lot of those songs are still sort of in the pipeline, subject to change
Exactly.
in a certain way.
Yeah,
right?
we don't like no song is finished until it's like released.
Yeah, exactly.
We do a lot of changes and experimentation with the songs throughout because like what we do is we play them live and see how they feel to us, and if they still make sense, or if we need to change the energy of the songs because some songs can sound really cool as a demo, and then you play it and you realize like it doesn't really make sense. And then you do the change that like goes with the energy that you get when you play it live. You listen back to the demo again, and you're like, oh yeah, that's way better. So that's a cool way of discovering new arrangement.
That's awesome. Very different from the usual boys, our recent guests.
Yeah.
Who would like to go live and have it all figured out and all there. It seems like you guys have more of a workshop approach to your live stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool
Do you
and
think
really
that's-
interesting.
Do you think that's built into the way that you came up? You started doing production through EDM, and you said like house and techno and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think it's connected to that maybe, that you still do the digital workshop and
Yeah,
stuff?
because like the first couple of songs were arranged like not at all with a live band in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like Wrong Track, we had difficulties because the drum beat is weird. Like it's not made for a drummer.
As in, it's like wonky rhythm, or it's
Yeah.
like
It's very
fifths
wonky.
and sevenths that are just
No, it's just
crazy.
like a weird rhythm that doesn't make sense.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it made sense for me when I just built a loop
Yeah.
by piecing samples together in Ableton. I'm like, that sounds cool. And then like, yeah, it took us so long to figure out how to change that groove into an actual playable drum groove.
Were you
that sounded good.
drawing them or playing them on MIDI? Like,
Just drawing them.
Right.
Yeah, just piecing samples together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I like to work that way better because that makes it gives me more freedom. I don't get stuck in any grid. I just do crazy stuff when I don't use any I don't even use like MIDI.
Yeah.
I just like have different tracks and a bunch of samples and just start placing them out at random.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I see that a lot actually from producers that, especially in hip hop, that they do like streams and stuff, like Kenny Beats and T-Pain and stuff like that do a lot of streams showing their production. It's a lot of that similar thing where it's like just moving the samples around in the arrangement view grid instead of using MIDI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few hyperpop producer friends who do that. And I yeah. And I love that way of doing it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So
Otherwise, I so easily like get stuck in conventional ways of arranging it. It just kind of gets a little bit boring to me.
Yeah.
For
Definitely.
And then you have 3 guitarists.
Yeah, so we have
Three guitarists.
including him, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
that's
accusing
including
them
because
at
like
this
I was originally like lead guitarist, so I play on all the songs that are released now. But then I started writing songs where I wanted like proper lead lines at the same time as I had vocal lines. I was like, okay, yeah, I can't do this anymore. So I got like 2 guitarists, but I still love playing guitar, and I want to do it like a couple of songs that are still written for me to play them. So that's why we have like both Philip, Hendrik, and me. So I pick up the guitar for a couple of songs when we do it live. But yeah.
And then if you're doing it live and you have the other two guitarists on stage, is it usually like one just steps out for a song, or you have different parts?
No, yeah, there's just three guitars at the same time.
So is it then rhythm, lead, and something else, or is it?
Yeah, I mean,
movement?
some of the songs we fill in more tonal possibilities with, for example, Philip, who has like a pedal board you can make really cool sounds with octavers and choruses and reverbs, etc. So you can create like a sort of not necessarily guitar-like sound as well in the background, right? Functioning more sort of a pad or a synth in the background.
Exactly.
And so it gets to the point where you're not having three distorted guitars
No,
at the same time on stage.
Sometimes you wouldn't,
know?
if you just listen back to it, you wouldn't necessarily know it's three guitars. It could just
like
as well
two
sound
guitars
like
and
two
sound.
Yeah,
sound design.
exactly. It's more sound design than a third guitar then, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a smart sort of solution, sort of use of a creative opportunity where you have this extra person.
Yeah. It seems like almost how you would think of vocals, arranging vocals. Like that's just how I think, but like when you would have one droning one and then you have like one more dynamic one and then you have one just supporting. Like it's cool. Almost feels like very choir-ish.
Yeah, for sure,
in
for
a
sure.
weird way.
Builds a little wall of sound.
Yeah, exactly. A wall of sound. Exactly. Yeah.
So you have two guitars, bass, vocals, drums,
And keys.
keys.
Max Glass.
Max
Glass.
Glass.
The man himself.
What's his
Legend.
background?
I think he studied when he was younger. I think classical piano.
Right.
Now he mainly does keys. He plays for Minivan as well, like we mentioned before.
Okay.
And he's one of my better friends, great friend. And eventually we needed a keys player for some songs, right? And he was the main guy we knew, and we just invited
Obvious
him. He's
choice.
good friends with all of us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of was a natural fit in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, super fun and great key player.
Yeah, for sure.
Sick. This may be like, what's your favorite? But I actually am genuinely interested in this. What's your favorite song to play at the moment and why? Live.
Good question.
Favorite song of his? Of yours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like when you're gigging, like what's like the most fun energy-wise song to play
Or
right now?
because you play bass with other bands as well. If there's one from that, maybe.
Yeah.
And my favorite of yours is probably Heroin,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward. It'll release at some point, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, it's coming out eventually.
Eventually, the future. Apart from that, I like Sweet Haze a lot because I get to play a lot of notes, which is fun
Exactly.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It's always when it's new and fresh as well.
Yeah.
And also, like, I feel like Feel It in My Bones is a really fun song
Yeah,
to
for
play
sure.
because it's very simple. It's just four chords.
Interesting.
The entire 4-minute song, but it's just like a dumb, fun vibe. It's just like so amazingly simple that it's just like, I don't know, it's just so.
If you'd wake me up at 3 a.m., I could still play that song with no mistakes. That's
exactly, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's super fun.
Hey, that's some of the best tunes, you know?
Yeah.
Two chords even.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
three
yeah,
chords.
yeah. Don't need to
just repeat
complicate
it, put it
all
on
the
a
time.
loop, and
Yeah.
it's the most fun. So
Exactly.
it's good to know. Also great for people wanting to maybe start a band. Like you don't really have to. I mean, obviously, when you have badass musicians, you have all this freedom to make really interesting, intricate parts.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that even this caliber of musician still gravitates towards those simple, fun tunes to
Exactly.
play.
Yeah.
Also, like more chords are necessarily equal, like more intricate, right? Even within like some very simple chord structure, you can build very intricate songs and ways to play things. It's not all about mashing 100 chords in 2 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, because limiting yourself can really lead to some interesting stuff. When like, okay, I have this to work with. Because like that's how that song came about. That was also still when I was doing everything by myself, no band. So I just had the 4-chord loop, and I was like, I'm gonna build a song on this 4-chord loop. I like these 4 chords. These sound good. So I just like started like, I got a verse. Like, okay, figure out a chorus. Like, I'm not gonna change anything. Just put a chorus on.
Yeah.
And just did everything on the same 4 chords.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, in another thing of yours, Alice, we have an outro which is 3 chords over 4 bars, but we do polyrhythms over it, 5 over 4s and shit like that. Like it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're like,
Playing
where can I take these? You can, especially as like you have jazz bass background as well a little bit, where you're
Partially,
like, where chords can stay the same and then you can change what they actually are
Also,
from a
of
theory
course,
standpoint.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like-
There's so much possibilities with very simple chords, which I feel is a little underexplored from time to time, right?
Yeah.
You can do so much things with it. You just have to try it and go for it.
Yeah. And then when you're looking for shows, how do you find them? Is it typically like email the venue, or One sec, I'm just going to check that camera's recording because it stopped last time.
Yeah,
And
go for it.
don't want it to happen again.
No worries. Well, the show we have this Thursday, we got through Trinity Music.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they have like a website where you can sign up because
Yes,
they have like
yeah.
some database for support acts. Bo just told me about it and I was like, yeah, sounds cool. That's not going to lead to anything, but it's not going to hurt.
But you get hurt
So I
out
just
of me.
signed up, like, and 2 days later they sent me an email like, hey, do you want to do a support gig for his sons at Cassiopeia? I'm like, yeah,
Sure.
It's amazing.
sure, we'll
It's
take
great.
it. Yeah.
People come through.
Amazing, yeah.
It's really cool.
So that was really fun actually to see that you could make that happen, get a gig like that without any help from any like contacts or stuff like that. Just like
Just the pure internet.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And otherwise it's just like just try to network as much as possible. Go out to like watch other people's shows. And I mean there are so many great like smaller musicians in the
Yeah.
city right now. There's a lot of fun shows to go to. So you just go to them and talk to people and like eventually someone will put on a show and they need an act and you play something similar to what they need and then you do the same for them. It's just like kind of help each other out.
So true.
Yeah, and also you gotta take a chance sometimes, right? I think you and Henrik organized a Noisy gig last year, which you managed to get
Exactly.
funding from BIM from.
Yeah, exactly.
Like be a bit brutal and just ask
Yeah.
if
We just
someone can
thought
fund
it sounded like a
Yeah.
cool idea. So we just
Yeah.
asked like, hey, can we get money to do this? We'll do all the work. And like, yeah, they were like, okay.
Dang.
And we're like, all right,
Just
cool.
like that, yeah.
Got a couple hundred people in there, and it's like a
Yeah.
couple of really cool
good
bands
turnout,
like
yeah.
Ebba B, Sector 5, Nina Kyodin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If it's a sound idea and you've got the guts for it, like yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
So that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Sweet. What was the question you were gonna ask before you?
You answered.
Oh, you
it was,
did?
it was about
Yes.
getting, about
Still
getting
on.
gigs.
Perfect.
Kept going when he was setting up.
It's on and on.
We're professional like
and on.
that.
How much do you think about your image as an artist in like trying to curate a brand versus just doing whatever you think is cool and that is the brand?
I think I spend more time taking things away than adding things. Like I don't try to turn into something. I try to not turn into something. I try to
Right.
stay as authentic as I can and stay as true to who I actually am as possible. Because that's what my music is about. My music is about like real things that I've been going through or like I've been around. And I really want to keep that as a concept going through the whole like project.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just about like trying to keep myself grounded and not like go into any character too much. I always like to exaggerate emotions a little bit, just to like make the point clearer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to like, I don't want to turn into something I'm not.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think just another question along the lines of artist image. Is there any specific kind of vibe you want to bring on stage? We've had past conversations with bands, costume. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I mean, what's the energy and what's the image you want to bring
On stage is just
generally?
having fun,
Yeah.
get a party going. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know the vibe I want to get into when I'm looking at a show. I want to like just let loose, forget about everyday life and just dance. Doesn't really, even if the song is not that happy, you'll make a happy party out of it and just like dance the problems away. That's kind of like, I just want to create some emotion in the room, let people feel some stuff, and just like high energy.
Seems very in the name as well, like waves. Like
Exactly.
just let it flow and like be, you know.
Yeah,
It's, like,
it all like circles
dancing
around
and-
that idea, I guess.
cool.
Yeah, and the band, even before playing, we were already kind of friends with each other. At least most of us knew
Yeah,
each other and were
exactly,
friends.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's more so the vibe than any costume or
Yeah.
exterior
Yeah.
appearance type thing.
Yeah,
you know?
we're just a bunch of friends that all already hang out. We just hang out on stage, play music together, and have a great time. Like, so we don't care if there's like 5 people in the audience. We're gonna have a great night playing that show because we always love just hanging out and playing music together.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The spirit of the band is maintained that way.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Because we've had groups on here, and that's really the way it started out. Is like just shooting the shit and
Yeah,
having
for
a
sure.
nice time.
Yeah.
And
And just sort of accidentally ending up doing a bunch of stuff just because it's like, oh, this is the next thing that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
And
no,
like-
for sure. That's really where, like, how it's been going for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, started the nights after school, first year of BIM, just always going to, do you know Bentheim?
No.
There's a bar on Warschaustrasse, like
bar.
legendary bar. And when we started here, it didn't have a name, it didn't have a sign. It was just like a white apartment wall,
fake place,
and just like a metal door. And one day I just walked past, and like someone walked out, like, "Hey, there's a bar in there." And then we just started hanging out there because they had like Stennis for 150.
Yeah, true. Back then,
like,
€2 for a Berliner Pilsner, I think.
Yeah, they're like, that's our spot. That's our
really
spot.
taking it down.
Right.
So we're just hanging out there, shooting the shit after school every day, and then kind of like started playing together. And
Finding that was such a interesting journey.
It seems like a cover for something.
It's also a bold move to go into an unmarked bar.
Yeah.
Just go
It's
see
like
what it is.
graffiti on the walls and like skateboards hanging off the ceiling with like a cap on it and stuff like that.
It's a good place.
It's a very fun place.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Super fun.
How close was your sound then to what it is now?
I feel like it was probably quite similar. It's matured a lot in the like.
When it's diversified as well.
What's that?
It's diversified as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
That will especially become clear in the newer music we're gonna put out, because since it got so held up by the pandemic, the songs I'm releasing now I wrote 3 years ago.
Right.
And I'm like 15 songs away from these. So the sound has developed a lot since the songs I'm releasing now. I'm just releasing them because I have a lot of respect for them. I'm like happy I wrote them and that they came to me. I was like, I wanna put them out there. They deserve to be like,
that's cool.
Not just forgotten. I like the song still. But it's not really where I'm at today. Like the stuff that I'm writing today is way more, I'd say, almost a bit theatrical.
How do you mean?
It's more like journey storytelling, like different parts that are very different from each other, and evolving songs, not as simple indie rock. The later songs.
They're less into the mold of indie rock, I feel like as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of the songs we just recorded, and that is actually a new song. That is gonna be like the first part is more like 90s alt rock, and then it turns into the last part is just like pure synth dance music and stuff for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
instrumentals. It's very much playing around with different genres, even more than I did. I always like doing that, but I'm just like leaning into that more and more, and try to like just not become stuck in any one way of doing this.
Yeah.
Because I love all types of music, and there's so much different things I want to do. So I'm just like, I'll just do them all. Yeah. Just like, try to make it work together somehow with the help of my anchor in reality. I just go with the crazy ideas, and he's like, okay, reel me back in, down to earth. Like, let's like find a plan on how to actually do this and what we can actually do. Yeah.
It's so appropriate that bass is the instrument also that is anchoring you back to reality, because I really do feel like sometimes that is the only thing holding me to the rhythm of the song at times. Like when I listen to music in general, I'm like, if there's a constant clean bass line, it doesn't matter what's happening. It can take you on the craziest journey.
Exactly.
At least, but that's
all. Bass is rock steady, then you're good.
Bass is rock steady, exactly. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
For sure.
How much do you worry about, or at all maybe, how much do you worry about your artist image being cohesive with Spotify and streaming services and everything, or just do what you
Not at all. Cool. Not at all. Yeah. Like I love getting streams, and I love when people like what I do, but it doesn't influence what I do at all. If no one likes it, that's a shame. Like I'll still do it because I love it. Yeah. And I also feel like since I like it so much, it has to be like at least like 20, 25 people out there who likes it. I'll come to a show and have fun, hang out with us. It's got to be someone out there. So, but if they don't find it, then like that's not what I'm doing it for. Really, I'm just really in love with having these ideas and making something out of them, and just like looking at it, listening to it, and like materializing it. It's kind of like therapy, making sense of everything.
Yeah, because the other side of that is we were talking about this, creating separate artist profiles for stuff. Yeah. But then it depends, like a lot of your brand is based on you just doing what you like, and not even really a brand. It's just like you do what you like, and hopefully people enjoy it.
Exactly.
I feel like creating separate artist profiles to create like a whole thing would detract from that maybe.
Yeah, I think so too, because that would make those different profiles like go into boxes, if you will. But I'm trying to like take this and this that don't go together and put it together and see what happens.
Yeah. How much do you feel like that's from your background in Sweden with just lots of different types of music happening around you?
I think it comes a lot from that because I initially was like a complete rock lover,
Right.
like rock and then like heavy metal, death metal, like the Swedish death metal, 90s death metal and stuff. But then as I like got into my teens, like the number one thing that the people around me listened to that I also got into was Swedish hip hop. And then I just loved that for some time. And then, those two worlds just merged because like I still always loved rock, but there wasn't any scene for it. And there was like no big one anyway, like at least like on the lower levels. So it kind of just made sense to merge it to, make my worlds fit together. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for people who don't know anything about Swedish hip hop?
Yeah.
I want to know.
ODZ.
Sorry?
ODZ.
I was going to say you wanted to spell that one,
Yeah. Listen to them. Those are the good guys. Start there.
Yeah. And then for growing up in Netherlands, how do you feel like that affected what you're doing now? Because for me, I associate Netherlands with
EDM.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not at all what you're doing. So.
No, exactly. I was never into that scene. I was always aware that it was huge, that like, you know, the top 5 were basically all Dutch at points, you know. But no, I really grew up on indie rock, basically non-Dutch music. There are some bands that used to do that back in the day, but it was never that big as it was in like the UK, especially in the US, of course, later. But so I mainly grew up in a little bubble with the music my dad fed me. And I went to a lot of shows with him when I was younger, festivals like Pink Pop, Lowlands, etc. Later Rockwerchter in Belgium. And eventually branched out myself. When I became a bit younger, I had a period where I was super into American pop punk. Which, if I think back, I'm like, oh my God. Oof. But then eventually, when I became like 17, 18, when I started to get very serious about music, I went more into jazz, R&B, like the Snarky Puppies, the Hellish Coyotes of this world. Does it really influence me? I mean, of course, that
on some level.
You're a product of your environment, right? Everything influences you in a sense. With Fred, it's nice that I'm kind of going more so back to my roots because like I haven't done indie rock except for with him in a very long time. Yeah. But then again, not everything you do is indie rock, but it's like a sort of a general nomer, I guess, for the direction. Yeah, of course. But it's nice to kind of return and sort of back down to earth to what I grew up on in a certain way and be able to use those old things that I learned for like arranging and writing. But also like with the song you were talking about with the dance, the more dancey outro.
Which he's actually a co-writer of. The first song ever that I have a co-writer of.
Nice.
Yeah, nice to like also incorporate the new direction I went in with more like jazz, R&B, and actually incorporate it as an outro to a 90s rock song, which is a interesting mix, to say the least. So yeah, that's a lot of fun.
You said it was mostly a lot of like what was in your house growing up. Yeah. Do you remember what the first album or song or artist was where it was your music, it wasn't your parents'?
It's probably Dutch hip hop.
Right.
Well, because that, of course, when you go to school, those are like the type of songs that you hear and you take back home. I do remember like the first album I bought, I think it was when I was 12. It was Lana Del Rey's Born to Die.
All right.
I bought it together with Foo Fighters' Wasting Light. So very interesting. Great combo. Exactly. Makes a lot of sense. But it's that where I started moving out myself, and also definitely a lot of Dutch hip hop, which was back then was gigantic for sure. Yeah.
That's a wonderful question.
I stole it from the Rick Rubin one.
Nice one.
Can't go wrong.
Broken
with
Record.
Nice. And for you, then what was that?
I mean, it might have been like the first record I bought, Appetite for Destruction with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. Right.
And I think at the same day, I also bought like some weird like double CD, which had Rage Against the Machine, their debut album, and Evil Empire on the same CD for some reason. Like you can open it up and had both albums, and I listened to those two like an infinite amount of numbers, like an amount of times. Yeah, that was like Rage Against the Machine and Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. It was a different time as well of buying CDs, buying individual chunks of music.
Exactly. Yeah.
I miss that, honestly. I love just putting a CD in the car and just like letting it, an album, just experiencing it as a whole instead of
the car part I love as well, but then the at-home part I don't like.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's nice to just have Spotify or like whatever Tidal, Deezer, and just be able to pull up anything you want at a moment's notice. But there was a different feeling about sitting in a car and just putting a CD in and just not really being able to change it even because you were driving, you were focused on other things.
Yeah.
I also remember that my mom's car didn't have any CDs in it, and I was the only one that owned CDs, so I had to listen to Born to Die only when I was in the car. So I probably heard that like 200 times just driving around. Just only that album. It's the only CD I had. So,
it's a good album, but 200
it's a good album, but
like
it became a bit much after a while. But I still wanted music, and the radio, I couldn't be arsed to listen to the radio, to be very honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because you guys have released only singles so far on Spotify. So but I think that's the currency nowadays. That's really the way people are operating. I mean, we have these big albums like, the really popular SZA stuff and like, but that's just really when you're a emerging artist, especially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do an album at some point, but right now, like since we're like working our way through years old songs, it doesn't really make sense to make a bigger project out of it right now. We just want like single.
It's also nice from the consumer perspective of getting it every like however often, 6 weeks, 2 months or whatever, where you feel more of a progression of like experiencing a little bit of what you experienced spread over 3 years.
Also keeps attention, right? Because there's a ton of bands I've listened to an album of and I just forgot about, and then 4 years later I randomly find them again. I was like, they released 2 more, but I never heard of it because I lost interest. I didn't know who they were anymore after a while.
And I also want to, like, if I do an album, I want to have some thought behind it to make it at least a cohesive, maybe a concept, but at least a cohesive sound that makes them all fit together like properly, not just a bunch of songs that I wrote.
Yeah, then it's not an album.
No, then it's like a mixtape
or a mixtape
or a collection CD.
Exactly. So now we're just doing singles. Might do an EP or something, but we'll see.
Yeah,
it's a different journey for sure. Because on a album you have like very story arc, but with singles it's just this like weaving into different forms of yourself, basically.
Exactly. So, because there's a wide array of like themes touched on in the lyrics of my songs. There's like,
Yeah.
Awesome.
How much do you think about that when you're going into songwriting, or is it like your production where it's not improvisational necessarily, but like just see where it takes you?
Yeah, I think I usually have an emotion in mind when I start writing the lyric. Right. Like I have like this feeling, maybe connected to some memories, maybe not, maybe connected to like 100 memories and they have a shared feeling or emotion. I was like, I need to capture this emotion into words to have it make sense to me. And then I do it, I just write it out. Like, as I said, like when I'm discovering the ways of like putting a song together, I do the same with the lyrics. I just write like 10 different ways of doing the next line, and if I like it, I'll keep it. If not, I'll throw it. Then when I'm done, I sit back, look at it, and like, okay, does this make me feel like that feeling? If not, then throw it away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Otherwise, I'm done.
Is that the same with production, where you come in with an emotion and then you're like, let's look at chords that reflect that? Or is it more emotion and improvise and see whether
exactly it's both. Like I play different things, and then like I hit one chord and I like that day with that emotion, that chord makes me feel something. I'm like, that's the one. But I could play the same chord like the last 10 days and it didn't make me feel anything. So it's really depending on the day and like the vibe I'm in and like what I'm trying to do at that moment.
Oh my gosh! Well, what do you think?
we've done an hour.
Time flies, guys.
It does.
An hour.
Before we finish up, is there anything you want to promote? You have the show today when this comes out. Show on the 8th.
Art
single
Stalker.
video.
Yeah, exactly. Check out Sweet Haze music video on YouTube. Otherwise, just gonna be like new singles coming out throughout the year. So
go follow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Check out
Spotify,
Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, everything.
And Bo, do you have any shows coming up?
No, mainly with Fred at this point.
Cool.
Everything else is in the works, as they say.
Yeah.
Go check out
Nice.
Fred Waves, guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
It's been a pleasure.